I write Erect DMR.
Where do you write it?
Dude, I write everywhere, man. Wherever I am at. I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, so I guess a lot of people want to call me a Detroit writer. I guess I'm really not the purest Detroit writer. I like to paint in cities north of the city, but pretty much wherever I go, man. I lived in Philly for a while. I paint a lot in New York, pretty much anywhere, man.
How is the Detroit graffiti scene different than a lot of other cities? You said that before.
Yeah. Detroit's very different, man. Uh, it's like a playground, and I know people say those words a lot, and like no one really elaborates on it, but Detroit's crazy, man, because like the landscape for graffiti there, it's like half of the buildings, like 40,000 buildings or whatever, are just completely abandoned and destroyed. So it's like you can paint them. There's way more spots to get in Detroit than there is in Chicago or even New York or San Francisco or Dallas. And the main difference is that there's like less cops. So you can paint broad daylight. Detroit's like the only city where you can paint in the middle of the day, like burners, like 9-foot tall burners on main streets, next to like expensive bars and like not get in trouble. They'll just give you a ticket or whatever, and then you don't even have to pay the ticket off because the precinct sucks at their job. So it's like crazy because it's created this crazy atmosphere for graffiti where everybody from around the world comes to Detroit just to do burners and like make videos and shit like that because it's like easy to paint, and it's really crazy, man. But things are changing, so people are getting caught more frequently now, and like now that we have Duggan as I almost said as president, now that we have Duggan as mayor, it's like he's really cracking down on shit, so it's changing.
Now you can go ahead and tell us the story about being shot in the
This was like maybe a year and a half ago. This guy came up from Miami who writes E-Notes or E-Notes, and he's like this real short dude, and he came up, he was like staying at Touch's place, and D'Lo called me like, yeah, dude, my friend E-Notes wants to paint. So we scooped him up fucking by some skate park, and like me, Erect, and this kid E-Notes from Miami scooped him up. It was probably like 2 in the morning. Like, we went out painting, and the whole night, where he's trying to get all these like heaven spots. That kid was on his game looking for heaven spots, like all these roof spots and shit, and he was like blowing my mind at like the spots he was finding, because like I said earlier, like graffiti's different in different cities. So anyway, so we picked this guy up, and we go to this one spot on Warren. I don't know where it's at, somewhere on the east side. And they wanted to get a roof spot. I wanted to get the roof spot too, but there was no like ladder or any way to get up there. So I basically just like lifted them up and pushed them up onto the roof. We had to boost each other up, so Erect had to stay on the ground. And I said, you know what, I'll just stay down here. I'll paint this like little building on the side of the street. So Erect was like, yeah, dude, I'll just fucking, paint across the street because there's an abandoned bank. And it's only like this far. It's only like as wide as a track. Like there's like a little side street. They were on this roof and I was over here. And so I start painting, I start doing my fill, and my cat clogged. So I had my bag behind the building. So I go behind the building and I'm like getting down on my bag and I'm like trying to switch a cap. And I heard a gunshot pop. But we heard one that was pretty close while me and E-Notes were on top of the building and Erect was across the street. Like mad close. And then at the same time I saw the wall on my right like exploded like at the same time. So I knew like a gunshot hit the wall behind me. So I just froze. So just out of like safety and precaution, I look over and Erect is just like froze. I'm like, oh shit, man, why the fuck is he froze like that? No, and because I didn't know what to do. I had been shot at a couple times, but I was just like, fuck, dude, like we're in a shitty situation. How am I gonna get out of this? I got friends on a roof, so all these things were running through my mind. So all I did was like, I put my hands up and I like zipped my bag and I just stood up real slow. And then I start walking and I have no idea like where this bullet came from. I have no clue. And I just start walking. I come around the building with like my bag, and D'Lo and him are up there just like peeking over the edge, like looking at me like, Erect, what happened? And I go, Erect. He goes, shh, be quiet, man. And I'm like, shut up, man. Like, because I didn't think that whoever shot at me knew that they were on the roof. So I start walking around and I'm like, we gotta go. And so I walk across the street. As I'm walking across the street, I look to my left and there's like this guy on his porch, and he's just got like a burner just at his side. He had like no shirt on, it was summer or whatever, and he's just standing there. And I made eye contact with him, and he was like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, all right, man, no harm, man. And I was like, my bad. And I kept walking. And I get across the street and I'm hiding in a bush because I can't get in D-Lo's car. His car's locked. So I'm just waiting for them. So I see them like scrambling off the roof, and they both kind of fall off the roof because it's like a really long, it's a tall building. And they start running across the street, and some guy had like come out of the gas station next to us, like probably because he heard the gunshot. So he came out of the gas station with a gun. And so he's just like, he comes out with a gun, and then he just sees two kids like with backpacks running across the street with like masks and hats on and shit. So he just starts like aiming at them and like running towards them. So by the time we actually get off the building, we're within like 15 feet of this dude fucking aiming the biscuit at us straight, like got the hammer aimed at us, like he's already aiming at Erect. And then he sees two guys hop off a building. So he's like flustered. He's like, what the fuck? You know, he's like super freaked out and shit. And D-Lo's just tripping, you know, D-Lo's like, no harm, man, no harm, we're just artists. And he like lifts his backpack up to his chest, and he's just like running like this, you know. And it was just the scariest thing because I thought he was gonna get shot, and I was like, dude, I gotta go get this guy's keys and like get his car, and like he's got family and stuff, you know. It was really unreal. And you know, we made it back to the car, and we ended up going hitting another couple spots or whatever, and we went home. But it was just really crazy because like we got shot at for like with no warning, you know. It was pretty crazy. I didn't get into graffiti real young. Like a lot of people in DMR got into graffiti very young, you know, through a friend or something. But I was actually in high school, and when I was 17, you know, someone really close to me died, and then like I moved out of my parents' house, and I was still in high school. I was like kind of living on the streets, and like with friends, and I was just really mad. I was like a very angry kid, you know. I was mad at like the world and like music on the radio and like at my mom and dad or whatever, you know, all that like juvenile stuff that you're mad at. And so I just like picked up a can. I like stole a couple cans from an Ace Hardware, and I just like went out and was doing like dumb stuff. You know, I would like tag "fuck the cops" like on a wall in Ferndale or whatever, and I was just like just living, dude, and it became like a therapy for me. So I just started doing it. You know, it wasn't about anyone else. It wasn't because I was trying to impress anyone or that I knew anyone else. It was just me trying to like cope with my life. So graffiti's always been really personal in that way. Like it's mainly just a way for me to get over the bad stuff in my life. And everybody has like their coping methods and shit, but graffiti was just that for me. And then as far as DMR goes, DMR were all people that I met like later in life. I actually knew Ramen for a long time. Ramen's like my brother, but I didn't know he was a writer. And he was like a really good friend of mine. I ended up living with him. And so when I started living with him is when we kind of started DMR. It was actually, we started a crew before DMR. It was ASK. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. Probably not. It was mostly like in Ferndale. But it was angsty suburban kids, you know? Because we were like just dumb or whatever. But shortly after, like we met Lush and we started DMR. And then after that, we met Four Eyes at a show, and we, you know, put him on DMR. And then it's just kind of been family ever since. And it's really important if you're gonna have a graffiti crew, not to just like have a graffiti crew for the sake of having a crew. Like it needs to be like a family situation. It needs to be people that you hang out with, like people that you like, because that's really what's important. You know, it's not just like an image thing. There's a lot of crews now. Like most of the big crews that you've ever heard of is like, you know, any or whatever. These are crews that have like multiple factions, and there's like hundreds of them throughout the United States, and most of them don't even know each other and shit. So it's DMR is just not like that. It's just kind of smaller and more personal, you know. But
What does DMR stand for?
DMR originally stood for Dead Men Running. It was actually officially, it was initially just DM. So we were like the Dead Men, right? And it was like a concept crew at first that Ramen started, but you know, we got a couple goofier writers in it. Like we got Lush and Four Eyes, so it became less serious, and it was more of like Delicious Milky Rump, or like, you know, dude, man, relax, like just like whatever. You know, it stands for whatever you want it to stand for. But it's definitely got more goofy since its like start or whatever. Oh, dude, graffiti's everything in my life, man. I mean, you know, I have friends and I have family and I have like my loved ones, and I can't say that graffiti is more important than any of them, but graffiti is everything, dude. Like if I had never gotten into graffiti, I could have been dead for some other reason, you know, whether it's drugs or like gang stuff or, you know, driving too fast or whatever. Like graffiti's kind of helped keep me grounded, like in a way. and it's given me like a reason to live. Like I said, graffiti is like a personal adventure. It's like a personal like soul searching type thing, you know. So it's kind of gives me goals every day when I wake up. And when I was like a lot more depressed and a lot more suicidal even, I went to graffiti to like kind of give me a way to go. And then now I'm mature enough to understand my place in the world, and I'm mature enough to understand like what's important. So it's pretty much just been like a tutor to me, you know.
Where did the name Erect come from?
Erect? Okay, that kind of just started off as a joke. Actually, I was sitting down with Ramen and his girl, because I was writing other shit. You know, like when you start, you write dumb shit. I was writing like Esco and Ape and all this BS that was already taken. And we were sitting down, like drawing. We were trying to get my friend a name. And actually, Ramen's girl gave me the name Erect. she was like, yeah, because I was talking about some girl that I was seeing at the time, and she was like, oh, you should call yourself Erect, like as a joke. And then I started writing it with a K, and I thought it was like cool. So I went out, caught a couple tags that night, actually on Grand River, and then it just stuck, dude. I don't know. There's really no good reason. And now I can rationalize it. Like when people ask me, why do you write Erect? I'm like, oh, it's like a joke, and like it's being rude to the cops. Like all they see is Erect and like dicks everywhere. You know, it's like fuck you to the cops or whatever. But really, it was just a joke, like a small joke. And it's become a lot more to me now.
So I know that you have a anti-advertising stance. How do you think
Yeah.
graffiti fits into that?
I mean, graffiti is like the biggest anti-establishment tool or lifestyle there is, really. You know, aside from just doing a bunch of drugs, like graffiti is a really powerful tool, man. You know, and like my goal with graffiti is not to impress other graffiti writers. It's more so to impress non-graffiti writers. You know, like Next said one time that like if your graffiti doesn't make other people want to do graffiti, then you're doing it wrong. So I thought about that because you know obviously like he's such a big writer. So I thought about like why that is and why he would say that. And really, like graffiti at its core is about lawlessness. It's about like freedom. And you know we live in like a world where everything's so saturated with like you know money and like with the market and stuff that nobody even takes time to try to be free. You know, and you know, hopefully like if I'm painting a lot, kids like, you know, even 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, like whoever, if they're like walking down the street and they see my graffiti, I want them to question it. Like, yo, why is this graffiti here? Why does it say Erect? Like, why is that so immature? And then like, if they see it 10 times, they're gonna go, oh, this must be like one person who's doing this over and over. And then like, you know, more self-motivated people will go, okay, well, if there's one person doing this all the time, like, why would he want to do that? And then that gives them like the doorway to explore. Like you can, with graffiti, like you can explore a whole world that you might never have seen, you know, like even my girlfriend, like she didn't even know about this bridge, you know, because she drives over it all the time, but no one comes underneath it. There's a whole world, you know, that you don't even see. And so graffiti kind of opens the door to those worlds. Like graffiti is like a gateway drug sort of. And I think it's really important because even if we're not like influencing kids, we're about to get hit by a train.
Dude, no, this way, 'cause my wife.
Okay, okay. We're Gucci.
So just anything else in general you'd like the public to know about graffiti, non-graffiti writers?
Well,
What would you say to like people starting to get into graffiti or thinking about it? Like, if you could go back to your younger version of yourself, what would you say?
and like give advice to like younger graffiti writers, like, uh, that's a good question, man. There's like a lot of advice, dude, and I haven't been painting that long. Like, there's a lot of people that you guys are gonna talk to that have been painting way longer than me, but it's like the main advice is to not do graffiti for other people outside of maybe your friends. Like the biggest advice that you can ever hear in graffiti is to do it for a good reason. Like, because like I know kids that start writing graffiti just cause, you know, they see it on like, they see bombing science or artprimo.com and like they just want to do graffiti because they think it's cool. And in a way it's cool, but in the long run, if you're gonna be a writer, it's not just like cool. Like you need to really have a reason to be going out 4 nights a week and like staying out till 6 a.m. and like, you know, running from cops, getting tickets, like wearing shitty clothes, getting fucking rips in your jeans. Like, you need to have a real motivator to do that. And there's like a lot of motivators, and it's different for everybody. Everybody's gonna have a different reason to write graffiti, but just make sure that like you know your reason, you know. Because otherwise it's not worth it just to do it. You know, there's tons of other ways that you can be creative. There's tons of other ways that you can like spend your time. But if you have like a good reason, then just do it. Like, there's no politics behind it if you don't make it a politics thing.
But there is like a professional side to like graffiti, right? You talked about how it's like, you know, you're always out dirty and it's late at night and everything, but you talked about, you know, doing like murals and everything.
Yeah.
Businesses.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
Well, there's definitely a professional side. It's just kind of something you fall into. Like, it's kind of a lot like skateboarding nowadays. And I think the reason that's happened is because of internet culture and like the way that people see graffiti on the internet. But nowadays it's a lot like skating. And you know, if anyone knows anything about skating, you know that if you're good enough, you get sponsored. You get a shop to sponsor you to give you shoes. So in graffiti, it's like you get a shop to sponsor you to give you paint. And all you have to do is like throw them up or do murals for them, and you're like good. So you get sponsored the same way you would get sponsored for anything else. So now it's like there's a more professional like end game for graffiti writers, you know, where you can actually be like a professional artist, or when you get to the level of, you know, the seventh letter, you can actually have companies and like you can have people buy your clothes and like people come to your gallery shows and pay $20,000 for a fucking canvas. Like, there is now a professional aspect. And you know, that's good, and like I think that people need to stay focused on the professional stuff. It does kind of affect street graffiti like negatively, but it also gives like a whole new route for people to like live legitimate lives. Like, you don't have to be a scumbag forever, but you need to put in like 10 years, 15 years of work to like be able to just be paid, you know. Like, so there's definitely a professional aspect, and I mean, Heavenly Dogs tries to do that, you know. Ramen and I and the crew, we started that company Heavenly Dogs, and it's basically just an attempt at us being more professional and like teaching people that we're not just fucking vandals. Like, we're also very talented, intelligent people. So that's like a lot of the important parts of being professional and being a graffiti writer, you know.
What's like hours spent on a piece?
Oh, I don't take a lot of time, dude. I've seen people like come back for days, but the longest I've ever spent at a spot to do a piece, like not including like hiding time, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, most of my pieces I can do in like 20 minutes. Like that one, maybe 20 minutes. If you're gonna be good at graffiti, you need to be fast. So, you know, I would say learn to be fast.
What about the felt erect on the other side?
Oh, dude, we were here for a long time. That's because Felt's really slow, so.
So I know there's like a spectrum of graffiti. On one side there's like the 20 carat piece, and on the other side there's like, you know, scratching your name on a window. Like, where do you fall on like the complete utter vandalism and like art? Do you like fall in the middle, like towards art maybe, or?
I hate calling myself an artist, so I think on the spectrum I'm more of a bomber, but my big thing is hand style, so it's kind of like the like least mature version of bombing. Like, I just like to go out with 1 can, 2 cans, do like 100 hand styles like in a neighborhood, and know that like maybe half of them will ride. But I much prefer the bombing aspect than the piecing aspect, because like I said earlier, like if you're gonna be an artist, you can like do canvases way differently. Like, you don't, like being a graffiti writer, you know, if you're gonna be breaking the law, you might as well really be breaking the law. Like, I don't like to focus on the colors or focus on the technical aspects. I like the actual graffiti aspect of it. It's like a sport, man. I don't know. I prefer bombing. Dude, do I look cool in the snow? Do I look like Batman or something?